This lesson introduces the topic of sequences. A sequence is simply an ordered list of numbers. It really could be any numbers at all. So for example, here's a sequence: 3, 9, 1/2, 42, -18, 23. It's an ordered list of numbers. The first number is 3, the second number is 9, the third number is 1/2, the fourth number is 42, and so on. Now, as you might imagine, mathematicians are more interested in sequences that display some sort of pattern that's predictable. For example, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. That's a sequence you're very familiar with. Here's another one: 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. Some sequences are more mysterious than that. For example, this one's kind of tricky. 2, 3, 5, 7, let's see, I have to think myself about this one. 11, 13, 17, and it does keep going. That one's pretty tricky. You might have to stare at it for a while. You might figure out what those numbers are. Then again, you might just scratch your head. I'll tell you this much: these are prime numbers. Maybe you remember what that is from a previous math class, but it forms a sequence because there's a first one, a second one, a third one, a fourth one, and so on. There's no obvious pattern to prime numbers, so that sequence is very interesting to mathematicians, but very hard to describe. Okay, we're going to focus mostly on sequences that can be described by what's called a recursive rule. So a recursive sequence is one that can be defined or described by providing two things: a starting value. For example, let's say start at 7, and a recursive rule to get the next value. So here's a recursive rule: add 3. Okay, what do I mean by recursive? Well, it means the rule recurs or keeps being used over and over again. So this sequence, I've told you that it starts at 7 and that the recursive rule is add 3. So to get the next term, I add 3 to 7. That gives me 10. Okay, the rule is recursive, which means it recurs. It occurs again. I'm going to use the rule again. So to get the following term, I take 10 and add 3, and that's 13. And then I add 3 to that, get 16, 3 more is 19, and so on. So again, a recursive sequence is one that starts somewhere, and then you keep doing the same thing over and over and over. In this particular example, the recursive rule was add 3. For your homework, question 1, look at this sequence, figure out the pattern, and then use that pattern to fill in those 4 blanks. Then, describe that sequence recursively in words. Start at blank and recursively add blank. All right, and then number 3, here's another sequence. Again, study it, figure out the pattern, and then fill in the 4 blanks, and then write a recursive description of that sequence. If you get stuck on number 4, look back to the way I structured number 2, because you're going to do something quite similar in number 4. Then for number 5, it goes the other way around. I'm giving you the recursive description. You give me the first 6 terms of the sequence. Okay, good luck.